Hello. Going up top floor, pantyhose, illegal drugs, and cigarettes. Oh, you're supposed to push stop.
That's Joel. He's kind of the front person, tambourine, rear shaker.
I can do it all day.
Welcome to the Cult of GlassOnion. This is the Voices of the Ceremony podcast, and what we do, like I just spoke to you about, is it's so like relaxed. So we light up a cigarette, we have a drink, we just like talk about the music and everything that's going on. It's just kind of like barstool preaching sort of thing. There's nothing heavy, and it's just a chilled out chat for around 45 minutes to an hour. I'm really glad that you've found some time to come onto the show and tell your story, man.
Cool. What are you drinking?
Well, so I'm drinking right now a Cosmopolitan.
Okay.
And this is like quite early in the day, but it's my day off. I mean, I've took some time out of work to come and do this today.
Say no more. I'm having some red wine myself, so.
Oh, fantastic. What red wine? I'm a red wine connoisseur myself.
Oh, yeah? I think this is the one Pedro Pascal advertises.
Oh, excellent.
It's not that nice, but
excellent.
look where I'm at.
Is that your tipple these days?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the health. It has health benefits apparently, so I'm all about it now, man. I'm in my 50s.
That's mad. I mean, I always think that. I mean, like, I've been a fan of the Brian Jones stuff for a good 20 years now. I mean, like, I'm coming up near 40, so it's like when I see like stuff like, we'll get into it later, but like Dig is come back out, Dig 20. What I find incredible about that is that when I look back on my life and I go, oh shit, like this band like inspired me like that long ago. And I was going to ask you a question a little bit later on about this, about things that you miss like when you're younger and stuff. But I might as well just like ask you now. It's like, do you feel differently, like still being on the road to when you was back then?
There's this certain zone that you have to break free from at the beginning of any tour. And it's you get on the bus and you get the first major cold and you have to deal with like the fact you're like in a germ capsule with 11 other guys. You have to learn to love the fact that these are germs, are your buddies, and you were all touching the same things and climbing over the same stuff. And so it takes a little bit to get back into that zone. And also hangovers are an incredible bitch in the beginning, but about a week and a half, 2 weeks in, this metamorphosis happened for me 2 days ago. I'm very grateful for, where you kind of become impervious to anything. And whether I'm 34, 44, or 54, it's all kind of works the same way. So I'm in the zone, baby. Everything's going fine, in regard to whatever it is that you got to deal with.
I was just going to say, from obviously your book, yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby.
And hopefully there won't be a part, was it 4? Would it be? Yeah.
Oh man, no, it's wild because I always think that. I mean, I was in a band. I mean, I couldn't think of anything worse these days. Getting older, rehearsing, and then going on tour. Like it is really tough. It's tough on like anybody. But like as you get older, I mean, you're in your 50s now. Like, does it take its toll? Like when you get home, do you go, "Oh, fucking hell, I'm glad I've done that"?
No, I go, fuck, I've lost the superpower where I don't get hangovers anymore. And now I'm back home and I'm going to lose it. And then we go
Oh,
back on the road in a month and a half and I have to start over again. So now it's actually very frustrating.
mm.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Life's,
So
life's
as
hard.
we move on, like we'll talk about your book a little bit later because I'm going to come and meet you on the 19th in Brighton. I'm going to come down to the show at the Brighton Dome, which is incredible. I mean, I first saw you at Brighton Concord 2, probably 10 years ago, which was fucking outrageous. It was a mesmeric phenomenon to see you guys. I mean, because you guys don't come over to Europe too much. You've done it a few times. I saw you at the Brixton Academy before. I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago or so. But when he was in Brighton, it was like I met Anton in a smoking area, and it was like really like a strange. It was a strange thing. But this time round, I'm gonna come and meet you at your book signing Q&A. So I've got the book. You recently just put out the paperback version.
Oh, you got the new one.
I've got the
Yeah.
new one. So this is the paperback version, and I do have one to give away, which I showed you the other day, which is the uncorrected proof copy.
Very rare.
So I'm going to try and get this one signed and give this away on the show to like some cool fans, man.
Yeah, right on.
I've been listening to the audiobook, and with audiobooks, I love to listen to audiobooks read by the author because I feel that it gives so much more sense of clarity, and also it's just honest. How did you find doing the audiobook? Like, did you have to read, for weeks on end, or?
No, it was like Mark Lanigan said it was the hardest thing he ever had to do, and I totally related to that. Because of the fact that you have to relay every word and line with complete enunciation. You can't marble mouth anything for even a moment. So you have to stop and go back, and it's just a lot of stop and go, stop and go. After the Manchester Psych Fest a couple years ago, I took the bus, and it was really cool because it's the Carmelite House, the epicenter of literature in London on the River Thames, like next to James Bond's office, So like for me, American movie kid, like I don't know, it's just it was pretty trippy. So we started doing it, and then there's a point, you do it, you work you hard, and it's like, yeah, I'm like, I really want to pump this out. And the second day, it's like, yeah, I want to like get this right, and it's an 8-hour day again, but it's a little sort of stiff and boring. So that night, you decide maybe I'll go out and kind of let loose a little bit. And then I don't do this very often these days because of my age, but for whatever reason, it ended up being 4 a.m. and I had gotten completely just fucked on a
Wow.
couple different things. And then I had to go in the next morning and read. So there's this point in the audiobook. I don't know how hard or if maybe it's more seamless than I remember, but there's a part where it goes from like, and then that's the end of that chapter.
Yeah.
Next chapter.
So did it become a chore at all to do? Because like when I listen to, I mean, I've read the book, but when I listen to the audiobook, its pronunciation and its comical effect was so much more real. It was so much funnier because obviously fans of you guys will know how you speak regardless. I mean, you're a very unique guy, but to hear you speak the stories, because each chapter is kind of like it's almost like a fable. You've got like these stories and stories and stories, and each one of them was just totally hilarious. But the way that you record them was, when you done that, did you like think back about like these times and think, fuck, like what am I doing?
I kind of just took it in the moment. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have not have let a narrator do it because, One of the things that was so fun about writing it is I didn't know this because I didn't really try when I was younger. It was a completely new discovery for me writing. So, I kind of had my own voice in the writing, and I couldn't have there's no way somebody else could do that properly because it's so personal at that point.
Mm.
And so when we were reading it, it'd be like, say, like, it's a part where Matt's going to say something or, somebody else is going to have dialogue. I just kind of rolled down the page and just threw those characterizations in as we went on the spot because that's just what it needed,
I totally understand that when you speak like as in, when you recall Matt or Anton and you do the voice and it's like, yeah, I get it. I can hear it better, like especially the audiobook. It's so funny. Like some of my favorite stories from that book was just you out on a limb, just by yourself with your own thoughts. Like when you was traveling over the bridge and you found the boat and you was like, yeah, man, like, and you lost the heels off your shoes and you was like, you don't lose your heels, like the horseshoes and stuff like that. It was just fucking hilarious, like super fucking cool, like because we've all been there. Like for people that are not like, born into money and like have been in bands and had hardships, just your internal thoughts and the way you recalled them was just so funny because you've got a very distinct way of describing things, which I found hilarious. As when you do your Q&As and you do your book readings, how do people receive, like if they've not read the book and you do your readings, how do they receive like what you're recalling from the book? Do they enjoy it as well?
Yeah, the book, I did a book tour last year, and that went pretty well. It was a little strange for me because the book had just come out, so nobody had the time to read it yet. So it was kind of like just playing new songs that, oh, my record hasn't come out, yet, it'll be available next month. But here anyway are some songs like it, you didn't have that kind of like, oh, this is what the people want or whatever it is, or they know what the material is. So it's a little strange for me, especially because it was an entirely different medium to have to sort of present these things up for, judgment or whatever it was. But people did respond very well and it was cool. And I kind of leaned on the mustache tour, which is, kind of if you're gonna like my writing, then it's that stuff. But I'm looking forward to the future readings where people kind of actually know the material now and it's more just, playing what they like.
Have you got plans to carry on writing the rest? Because like when I got to the end, it was around, I mean, you kind of end the book around about the time of Sundance and Dig. So we're missing 20 years from then to now. Like, are you going to be doing a follow-up?
Yeah, the first book was the first 10 years. And then I've turned in a draft of the second book to my editor just recently.
You've wrote it already?
It's already done, yeah, or at least what I think is done.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little difficult because you take like the DIY years into the legal lifestyle stuff of, pre-internet, and then you go into this hit documentary stuff, and then the end, and then it's like you made it, and now it's the touring years, which is a harder book to write in a way, but so many things happen that are in line with what people liked about the first one. If you like the first one, you like the second one. It's the same kind of deal. But I've had to rely more on flashbacks on this one to sort of like, compare the past dream with, well, now we're here doing it, and how does it compare, kind of a thing. But yeah, that book's done. And then I've got a book of standalone stories. Because I had about 1,000 pages for book one.
Wow.
And so never mind, like, let's just start and then pick out the good stuff. It was like, I just had to start machete chopping through the jungle of my writing just to even get something that was digestible for my editor to start with. So,
Mhm.
so all this stuff just immediately, well, if I get rid of this, I can get rid of that. And then da 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 da. So it just became this economy thing. So there's tons of stuff that's like on the same level that just didn't have a chance in the first place because I couldn't have an 800-page book about a tambourine guy, you know, for out of the gate, you know what I mean? Like first thing, like you had
Well,
to.
I found in the Jingle Jangle Jungle very unique book. I mean, I read a lot. I mean, you can see. I read so many books on so many artists. It's such a unique book in the style of um, with writers. There are some writers that do their own thing and their own style and their own way of doing things. But your book was completely unique in the sense of it didn't start at like birth for you and it didn't end like now. It's like you say, it's a 10-year period, but the 10-year period, it was like all of these fables and analogies in different sort of sections. And each one of them was huge. And it didn't have like, it had a continuity, but it was just in a way of like, when I talk about like Irvin Welsh done like Trainspotting, and he writes in the way the Scottish people speak. And that's what I find with your book. It's kind of like, it's so Joel Gion. It's so Brian Jones sound. It's so of that era of like the 90s into the noughties. And it's completely periodic. So it's incredible. It's a great read and unique. Is the next book going to be like that? Is it going to be very, this is this, rather than this continuous, this is where I pick up and this is where I am now?
It is the same, yeah, in that regard. Yeah, it's definitely written in the same kind of almost circular style as that, even maybe more so because of the flashbacks. So if you like the first one, you'll like the second one. And
That's what I enjoyed. That's why I enjoyed it. It sounded like you just woke up and then retold a story from last night. And then going to the next chapter, it's like you just woke up and you're going to tell me another story about last night.
books.
It's almost like
Yeah.
54 days of Joel Gion's life.
Yeah.
But
And then I have another whole book's worth of the stuff I had to cut out because book one was always supposed to be 2 books. That's how I wrote it. But you can't have a book 2 unless you've succeeded with a book 1. So book 2 and book 1 had to come together, and I've got all this other stuff. So I've got sort of a standalone adventures. If you want to go back to the early San Francisco stuff and hear more tales, you know, I've got that book, and then I've got the continuation book. And then I'm working on a novel too that I'm kind of deep in.
Are you doing a novel as well?
Yeah, it's all outlined, and I've written a fair amount of chapters on that.
So
And that
do you
also has to do with the '90s, and it's sort of a shoegaze, paranoid thriller in San Francisco
Oh wow!
kind of a thing.
So do you read quite a lot?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you got to read to write, you know. Like it's you got to keep feeding your brain with good writing. Doesn't make you go, "Oh, I want to write something that's like that." It just reading, the more you read and the more you read things that inspire you, the more they kind of trigger what's inside of you and in what you do. You know, it's
Yeah,
like listening to the Stones and going like, God, I love music, man. I want to fucking write a song. It doesn't have to be a Stone song, you know, it's just inspires you to want to keep working like, oh, how would have I written that in my way that's totally different, you know, like
yeah.
reading all these music memoirs in the process of writing the book was, you know, not to sound like a dick or anything, but you know, I'd read all these memoirs. Like I was worried like somebody had already had like done what I'm doing, you know, and I was gonna find out like, fuck, you know, this is exactly like fucking blah blah blah's book. And so I was just like eating up memoirs. And every time I'd read one, I'd just be like, man, I'm way better than this. You know, like, I'm not going to waste my time here or whatever it is, you know, or like I'd
Absolutely.
write that better or whatever, you know.
I find, like I said, I find your book completely unique. I think your writing style, I think you've hit on something there. it's an enjoyable read, like from start to finish, and I would go back and redo the whole thing again. I mean, there's not many books. I mean, I recently read, I think it was Nico's book, and it's like 800 bloody pages. It's huge,
Yeah.
but it's like, wow. I don't know if have you read Nico's recent book?
No, I haven't, but let me just interject here. The book, I don't know if you know the book Songs They Don't Play on the Radio, which is her guitar player in the 80s
Mm,
wrote a memoir about touring around Europe with her.
okay.
That's a book there's a couple of books that I relate to that are kind of in the genre of what I'm doing, and that's one. That's an amazing book. And then Julian Cope's Head On and Repossessed those are the
Yeah.
books I relate to in my book. But yeah, but that book's cool. I just I don't do a lot of like research books these days because
Let me just show you. This is the book. It's called "You're Beautiful and You're Alone" by Jennifer Otter Bitterdijk. It's huge, but incredible book. I loved it from start to finish. But it's one of them books where I would have to have like years away from like trying to go and read it again because it's like it's so full on. Um, and with your book, I've just found it very. It's so easy. It's because, like I said, it's kind of like you're retelling tales from like last night, and then the next night, and the next. It's super cool. And if you're like a huge fan, it's like it's kind of like stitching a tapestry. Where like when you start talking about people like Peter Hayes and Jeff, and you're like, oh, cool, man. Like, have you spoke to Jeff lately?
yeah, I saw Jeff recently. There was a screening of Dig in LA, and I went down to speak for that. And then there was kind of this all-star band thing going on that was playing at a club, and Jeff was a part of that. And Jeff and Anton have problems, and so I didn't really want to like get involved too much. But I did see Jeff, and he kind of just resurfaced. He like disappeared for like 15 years. Like nobody knew where he was. Like I think
I was going to ask, like, what happened to Jeff? Like, he just sort of like vanished, and then I see like loads of people asking where he is. I've been given his number to contact him.
yeah,
He's down in Echo Park apparently. So it's like, yeah,
yeah.
but the difference is there's like 8 hour difference. So if I ring Jeff, it's like got to be like at a silly time in the morning, sort of thing.
It's gotta be 4 a.m. for that guy. You know what I mean? He's not getting up until like 1. And that's like in the middle of fucking tomorrow for you guys. But yeah, he's good, good spirits. It was nice to see him, it's very far and few between. We touch base. Yeah. I talked to Dean Taylor recently and that was cool. But all these people have other lives now and whatever it is, and I don't know.
Have you spoke to Matt recently?
Huh?
Hollywood recently.
Matt, yeah, we corresponded. I was a little worried about Matt because I kind of just socked it to him like I saw it, which I do a lot of in the book. And I didn't want to like bum him out or anything, but I had to kind of tell it like it is. And he actually reached out on his own and to tell me how much he liked the book, and he sort of said, yeah, I was going through some certain things at the time, and da 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 da, but you did a really good job, and that just means the world to me.
Did the rest of the band take the book quite like cool? Were they like cool about the book?
When I saw Jeff, he really wanted the book. That's kind of one of those situations where I just like dropped it and then just like ran for the hills because like I don't think he's gonna take that one very well, Just I don't know, it's my instinct. But Matt was cool with it. Dave, our manager, was cool. Everybody was cool. They were all proud of me. Anton doesn't really mention it, so
Anton,
I don't really
has
know
he
what
read
he
it?
said. Well, yeah, he's read it, but we don't really. The only thing he said to me about it is you know, when you do a second book, it should be more serious.
Oh no.
So I don't know. It's cool though. I mean,
But
whatever.
then I'd expect that from Anton. Anton's like quite he's straight down the middle, like Anton.
Sure. I mean, for me, this was my artistic outlet. So I did it just as, in the name of art and my own therapeutic sanity to tell the tales, but do it in a way that was more interesting than grocery listing, to actually get inside the scene and actually like
Yeah.
just put people in the driver's seat. Because I knew I could do that because I feel passionate about those times and those people and those days, and not everybody gets to have a big fucking compliment because it's not, a political glad handing kind of affair. Like life is it's not that simple. So
I mean,
I'll
I don't
take
think
it
that
if I gotta get.
I don't think that you particularly said anything bad about any of the guys in the band, like in the book. I think it was quite
It's
like
like an ego world, it's the world of egos, and if you do anything, then that's like, oh, that's what they remember. But
is
yeah, I
it
always made
what did you
sure
said
to like
about
balance it with love. It's all out of love, all of it.
I got that from the book. I thought it was like really cool and quite witty, and also I thought it was quite kind. I thought it was quite funny when you said about when Peter Hayes he saw the documentary and he was like, "Hey man, like what? Some fucking hippie fucking guy?" Like, and he was like, "Yeah, but you were, man," and he just didn't say anything.
Yeah, because they were
And
the
he,
hot 10.
so how did that end? Like with Pete? Like was it just like oh
That was actually the last words I've spoken to him. Like they were always kind of like too good
really?
for BJM, despite it all. And when Dig came out, it was kind of like this, sort of pantsing of them because they had had two very popular albums. They were press darlings. They
Yeah,
did
yeah.
all this stuff. They were the shit. And BGM had kind of like just, the wheels had come off and they'd gone off the road. And then Dig came out and it was like, oh, here comes my past. I have to own up because they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
they had gone to extremely great lengths to never mention that he was in Brian Jonestown.
I noticed that.
And
I'm a
it's pre-dig, so nobody has any reason to know in England. Nobody has that much reason to know about BJM at this point, and that was all conscious. So I was
I feel like that's since then. Like I feel that it's never really been like a link unless you're like a big fan of like this sort of music.
yeah.
I feel that BRMC really detracted from the fact that it was spawned from BJM.
Yeah, they were embarrassed by it. I mean, I get it, like this guy schooled me and kind of showed me what time it was and everything I'm doing. You want to be your own, like, intense, like, super dark and rebellious figure. You can't, like, owe it all to somebody else. So I mean, I kind of get it, but it was owing up time, and in hindsight, like, I just wanted to call bullshit, on
I
that.
don't blame you. I mean, let's
Very fun to write.
as
Because it's
as we
all
move
true. That's
on.
exactly how it happened. Just playing doing a dumb pool game with a big bag of cookies. And
That's it. Yeah.
then I sat outside with Peter and we had that exchange at verbatim. And that's the last time we've spoken, not because,
The cookie thing.
but just because, neither of us give a shit, apparently.
The cookie thing made me laugh, man. Or the pool table. That was just so good.
Dark and dangerous.
The cookies, man. That made me really laugh. I mean, I'm a fan of the BRMC, but you was talking about Levon Bean, so sort of like taking aggressive swigs of his water and just chucking it back like, "Damn you, water."
Yeah. You read interviews where, Robert's like, well, if it's going to be trial by fire, it's best to wear leather. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? You're like this suburban fucking kid that I knew. Your dad totally like brought you up into this world. And, you know, that was our first fanboy side of stage, every gig, just big smile, like, wow, you know, and then when they had their turn, you know, they did what they did. So
They switched it off, unfortunately. But as we
yeah,
go
man,
on,
you
like,
got to respect your heroes, you know.
of course, yeah.
I do.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your heroes. So when you was young, like what did you want to be, and did you ever feel like this might be the path? Because obviously you know, incredibly inspired by the 60s, mid-century, you know, stuff. Like, did you take all of that in your stride as a young man, and then, you know, this is where you were going to go, and fuck everything else? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess I was totally dialed in for like the 70s, like super duper California 70s hippie van, skateboarding, biking, rock, kind of super California thing. That was like the straight deal that I was getting dealt. That was the reality then. And I don't know how deep I would have got into that, but you know, I was one of those kids that had an older brother that was kind of there to like, you know, kind of show you like how it can go. And he was all in. You know, he had the sweat headbands and the whole thing, the feathered hair, the whole deal. And I
Yeah,
didn't know what I was going to be. I didn't know where I was going to go with whatever it was. And then my parents decided to move up to the fucking country. And we're not talking about, you know, go to the country. It wasn't like the cool hippie shit. It was like the more like right wing side. It was the Reagan years. It was the bullshit. So now
yeah.
I'm stuck in the middle of fucking shit fuck. Dukes of Hazzard fucking Hiromi Bosch painting. Just when I'm ready to try and figure out what it's all about. And at the same time, uh, my brother and I discovered through crazy rabbit earring a radio station from San Francisco called The Quake. And it was a modern rock station. And they played things like Echo and the Bunnymen and Joy Division and Smiths and, you know, a lot of the synth pop stuff and reggae and all kinds of stuff. Whatever was in top 40, but it was all from England. And that's when I discovered like this is the music I love. And then from there, I was on my radar, and I'm like, well, God, you know, this is England. These are English, you know, it's kind of like James Bond movies I watched when I was a kid. Started watching the James Bond movies, and it's like, oh, what are these Michael Caine movies? And it's like, oh, what are these other movies? And then, you know, so suddenly I'm just full on Anglophile. And then Psycho Candy comes out, and I see the Just Like Honey video.
Yeah, yeah.
16 years old, brand new, on some late night program, cable program. And I was like, I was just completely mesmerized. And that was my band from then on out. And then I got a guitar. I was kind of dinking around. And then when the next record, Happy When It Rains, when that video came out, and they're just stumbling around, and the guitar parts look super easy, I was just like, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to do that. I want to stumble around on the stage and not have to play very much, you know? And that was it from that moment on. And I moved to San Francisco. I never like, oh, I got to get good at guitar or anything. I was just like, I'm just going to get in a band and it's just going to work, you know? And it did. By fluke, by hook or by fluke.
Because you had the Rickenbacker that you took to your audition, didn't you?
Yeah, I could barely fucking play anything.
And not many people know. I was going to get into your solo stuff and also like your bands, as well as obviously BJM. But everyone knows Joel Gion as Tambourine Man. But you play other instruments.
Yeah.
You play guitar and you sing. Like you had the Primary Colors.
Yeah. Yeah, I had two solo records. You know, I kind of hit middle age, and it was like this was the time of the My Bloody Underground and the Who Killed Sergeant Pepper records. Now Anton lives in Berlin by himself, and he's recording by himself, and he's doing a lot of like almost techno-y dance floor stuff.
Okay.
For me, from the whole like Take It From the Man, you know, kind of era, like that wasn't my vibe. So I kind of was starting to feel like, well, what's my music identity here? You know, it kind of forced me to stop living through him, because he provided everything I was into about music, you know,
Right.
and so that apparently was enough. But it did force me into recording my own music just to maintain my own identity.
I
And
mean, I was going to say the Apple Bunkers 2014 album, incredible, incredible with Yes, Smile, and stuff like that. But as you go further as a fan from the immediate outside world, it's very difficult to find everything else that you have contributed to, like as a solo artist. So I've got stuff here with Extended Play 2011, The Primary Colors with like Foggy Notion, Apple Bonkers, Yes, Smile, and you had people like Jeff Davies, artists from the Warlocks, the Dandy Warhols, and Dead Skeletons. There. Do you also done a song Divide, which you featured on a Sweet and Sour site compilation? Was that just a single?
it was a single for it was a pre-release track for that compilation. But then I had an entirely second album come out that was kind of like Apple Bonkers was like, all right, here's me kind of like flexing my musical influences. And then the second album, which was self-titled, was me going like, all right, now I'm gonna experiment some. And I was kind of trying to morph shoegaze music with bossa nova and
Yeah.
things like that. But unfortunately, I just realized recently it's not out there because the record label went out of business, and I was so immersed in writing that I didn't realize that I should probably like put that out again. I mean, it's weird in this day and age. An album can kind of just like disappear, not exist anymore. But
This is
my
what I was going
second
to
album
say.
like doesn't exist right now. It's kind of weird.
There's so much stuff that you've done which I love, because your style of music, which I absolutely love, it's very sort of like 60s lounge psych, like it's got like 60s flute and stuff. It's so cool, but it's really difficult to find the record. I mean,
Yeah,
I found this stuff on here, like Beyond is Beyond.
that's right. Yeah.
And but where the hell do I find it?
It's not out there anymore. I mean, the run went through, but then the label goes out of business. You know, it's what
But
do you?
it's your stuff, it's your creation. So do you have the
Yeah.
rights to it?
Well, the problem is, it's just like I just can't stand Spotify like so much. Like, I mean, what I'm supposed to do is put it on Spotify, so it's
Yeah.
out there. But I just hate all that shit so much. I buy records.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like Anton said, and he's right. I mean, the record labels are fucking mafia. They
Yeah.
are. That's what I was going to get into. Another question actually about that sort of stuff, like, especially with BJM, but also following on from like the stuff that you've created yourself. With the idea that the record label is the mafia, and it's really tough out there. With the bands that were around you in the 90s and the contemporaries that were there that all made millions, but you kept it real. Like, you guys kept it super real and was like, fuck you guys, we're not fucking signing to you, we're not doing it. Like, how did that feel at the time for you when you've seen like people like Oasis or Pulp or the Dandies, like, and just create like a lot of money, but they also don't have, I mean, they have the respect, but they don't have, like with BJM, it's always, if you're a fan of BJM, you know full well that you guys kept it super fucking real.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
was it hard to see people become millionaires around you and you're like, well, no, I'm going to stay here and do this?
well, I mean, I always knew that I was in the best band in America, and it was only ever an issue of people figuring it out because I'd spent my whole life being sort of an outsider and people kind of not getting it. Um, that was all fine. I mean, of course they didn't get it. It was almost like a letdown in a way if they did get it. You know what I mean? Like, because we're weirdos, and it's only gonna go so far. Um, but when it did come, when the chances came, and then we got the sign to the label, then we're gonna push you, and that's the part where you see in the film where it all kind of just implodes. Um, I'm kind of lucky that that happened, because if I had gotten that major label status and got to be that guy, I, without a doubt, would have partied my ass into the grave getting to be that guy. But to
Yeah.
have all that shunted, you see in the film, I leave, um, to come back and have it all fall apart, to come back later and have it resurrected, as you say, as a more purist, road that we traveled to get here today now, where everything's totally righteous.
I think you're more respected as an artist. I think you're more respected as an artist for doing so. Like, especially from my group of listeners, and like the band that I was in. I think everyone respected the BJM for doing what they did, and still do, and see it as, it's not bullshit. This is like, you're in it for the music alone. But has there been, like, since, obviously, I mean, you're on tour right now. We'll talk about the tour very shortly. Do you still have the sense of satisfaction of everything you've done when you look back and you go, I didn't need all the fucking mansion and the Rolls Royce, and do you have the satisfaction of, like, yeah, I've kept it real, and these people are my fans, and they're lifelong fans for 30 odd years, and they love that.
Yeah. I mean, the material stuff, I only get the material stuff that equates to how I want to live my life. I don't need a lot. And being able to do what I do in the fashion that I do it, under the circumstances that I do it, and in the light, most importantly, that I do it, it all equates to exactly what I want, because I'm not in it to be the top gun of the breadheads. That's not
Yeah.
going to solve it for me. There's no way. So I'm cool.
So that's enough. That's enough for you to keep it real. And I mean, you're telling your story. You've, like I say, you've just done this book, and you're on tour right now. How is the tour going? You've got a long time left on this tour. Is it kicked off just as you expected, or?
Don't say it like that.
Well,
Yeah, we're on show number 2 and it's going great. And the Bexhill gig was awesome. And then last night was really a lot of fun. So, like I say, I'm impervious to hangovers now, and it's just full guns a-blazing.
what does a normal tour look like for the BJM? Like, with preparation, I may just sneak a couple of your stories and Anton's stories for preparation, where you sort of go and have breakfast and you do whatever. I mean, you're doing this today before a gig tonight. How do you prepare for a BJM tour?
The best preparation is just don't, because whatever preparations you make, they're not going to fucking work. They're not going to play into whatever happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always something. It's like I'm just trying to fly over, man, to like join the tour, and I'm on my way to the airport, and I'm getting emails like, "There's a hurricane hitting," the entire region from, Ireland down to London, and you're flying into Heathrow for a stupid layover. You're not even going there, you're going to Berlin, but you have to fly into this hurricane, just to like touch down and they take off again.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's how these things start. It's just from the get-go. It's always.
I was gonna say about, obviously, the tours. I mean, I was, when I think about Dig, and the beginning of BJM, do you think there's like a stigma involved with the band
Yeah.
and the audience where they always expect it to be like this? Because these days, especially in like 2025, we're in now, that everyone's got like I always say it's a speaker's corner, like a phone in their pocket where they've got opinions, they can do whatever they want. So when they go to gigs, I mean, you get people that throw fucking pound coins or fucking bottles of water at the artists that have gone to see to rile them up, then to be infamous themselves as a listener. And I know that Brian Jonestown Massacre has had a lot of hecklers and stuff to try and wind you guys up from the beginning because they want to relive Dig again. I mean, as older gentlemen, do you find it becomes tiresome, or do you find it quite often that people want to have some reaction from either you or Anton or something to happen on stage to then be in the media?
Yeah, there's a bunch of that. It was obviously the worst was after Dig came out, and then it kind of dissipated over time. And then the Melbourne thing happened,
Yeah,
and that just sets the stage for a reboot to all of that again. But I think people know about the fight there, which I wasn't there for, by the way, just a little tidbit. But also at the same time, Anton's had heart surgery recently.
of course, yeah.
I think a lot of people understand that, or at least know that. And if they don't know that, I would like them to know that.
I
Because
just find it, this day and age, like I was going to go into like maybe what your thoughts are with like AI technology with music and stuff like that, because the world has changed. It's revolved so badly that you don't even have to be talented anymore to consider yourself like creative. So when you get these people that come to these shows that are supposed fans and they want to wind you up and they want to get some sort of snippet to post, I find that the world is quite toxic in terms of, they want to post something to get likes. So with a band like yours, it's a very controversial band. Do you feel that these people come there specifically for that, to write an article, or because I found the Melbourne thing like really fucking shit? I thought it was really, it was the end of the tour. You'd done so long, which was so great, and then people just remember that, and it's just like, well, why do we remember that? Oh, because the press are responsible for that sort of shit, and I hate that because you do such a good job the whole time. And then you get like these arseholes that come out and they go, oh, well, look at, this is what's happened. I mean, does that bog the band down at all? Like when after like Melbourne, did you have like a sit down chat and go, fuck them dudes, man?
no, not really, because I mean we're just used to that sort of stuff, for forever. The fans get it, the fans understand, the fans like the band because of the art and because of what we stand for and because
Yeah.
of them. But it's all the other people that would just love to turn it into some takedown scenario.
What's the
And
press?
fine, and the press and people, people are horrible and they've been waiting for this forever. I mean, we've been dealing with it forever, from the 90s, from just like the Guitar Center kind of hair rock world. We just love to bash on us. This is kind of just like the blown up modern version of something we've been dealing with for forever.
But
And
that's why I love you guys, because you just go, well, whatever, and you get on with it because you are producing great art, and you go, well, this is, it's a byproduct of like you fucking dicks, and this is not us.
and nobody can be judged in this world that we're speaking of, and nobody can be judged on anything other than their artistic merit and what they contribute and how they communicate with their audience and the universe at large. And
I
if
agree.
you're communicating with people, those are the people that are going to come at you. Oh, finally, I can whatever revenge on my life I'm not happy with or whatever it is, and that's fine too. It's almost like, well, I'm happy to give you that outlet, as long as you're helping people,
Absolutely.
and take it.
So as I move on, like we're going to come to the closing of the interview and stuff, but I want to talk to you about your style. So I absolutely love your style. Like as a young man, I kind of based myself around you as a young man. Like when I was in my band, the Baker Boy caps, the cool glasses, the cool draw trousers, the flares, the Beatle boots. Where did that come from?
The Beatles.
Just straight up Beatles.
Well, I mean, in the beginning, I mean, you know, as a 5-year-old, I saw Help, and it was like, my God, these people are like cartoon characters, but it's real life. It's the first time I understood animation as humans. It
Yeah.
was with Beatles and Help. And then, you know, later on the Jesus Mary Chain some, and then, you know, you kind of pick things up and put things down and whatever it is. And eventually you come out the other side kind of doing your own thing, you know, but, I'm very much a Lee man, you know. I like the high cut of a Lee jacket. After many years of thinking I was a Levi's guy, you know, I just, there's nothing more satisfying on earth than to slide on some vintage dead stock corduroy high cut long sleeve Lee 70s motherfucker, you know, like
Yeah, man. Yeah.
thing in the world.
See, I
I
was
like
gonna
rock
say
boots,
like
Beetle boots, yeah. I like to
I
wear
was,
American boots in England, and I like to wear English boots in America. You know what I
I was,
mean?
I was gonna say like the BJM style is kind of based around what you wear. It's you know the short denim jackets, you know the cool glasses, the hair, the Beetle boots.
Buy my
You
own
know,
sunglasses now.
I've got like the greatest. I'm a bit too fat now, but I've got the greatest like vintage Levi's jacket. And when I used to take all sorts of narcotics, I could fit in it. But it's like the smallest thing. I
Yes.
mean, it's so tight and so small, and I liked it. I mean, it wouldn't even cross my chest. It'd be like here.
Yeah.
But it's just like you can rock around in that and be like really cool. But I was going to go on to say, because you're such a style icon, Subsun has just released your fantastic Dig glasses. Was it like a week, 10 days ago?
That's right.
So there's like, what, 200, 250 pairs up for
Yeah,
grabs?
there's a few left. Yeah, but yeah, they've blown through pretty good. Yeah.
I think I have, it's up here somewhere. I'll find it shortly. The Dig cover. And that's what you're wearing in the Dig cover, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
So
they're kind
where did you get them?
I got them at a thrift store on Hay Street, and it's an old 60s company that's long gone, so you know, there's nobody to piss off. But I sent them my original pair and they got the specs exactly right. Like the
So
arms,
you still have the original pair?
I have the original pair. Yeah, those were what was used to make this model. So the arms are super fat and cool. They're totally goggle like. Like there's no like guessing. There's no it. It's the same exact frame shape. You know, it's pretty great how they did it.
So as we get to a close, Joel, we've discovered obviously you're a multi-instrument guy. You've got lots of solo, and also like with your bands like the Primary Colors, as well as the BJM stuff, which everyone knows for 30 years. You've also just re-released, released this, but this is the paperback version of in the Jingle Jangle Jungle. I will be giving away this uncorrected copy, which I'll come and see you on the 19th to get signed, if that's okay.
Of course.
And take a photo with you, if I may, like be as cool to stand next to you. And you're a huge style icon. Everything's going on. The last thing I do want to talk to you about, just before we go, is Dig 20. So with Dig, when that come out, like we established at the beginning, of course, I mean, my stupid brands obviously can't do maths, which is 2004, 2005, 20 years of Dig. Andy and David have got you to do the new narrative. So how did this come about? Because I think the original actually narrated by Courtney.
Entirely, and a lot of his narration is still in it, but a lot of it's taken out and been replaced by mine. He doesn't talk about our band side of it so much anymore. As far as I've been led to understand it by the filmmakers, is I was posting some of this writing that I was doing on the internet. As I was writing it, and David Timoner, the editor, saw this stuff, and the 20-year anniversary was looming, and it just gave him the idea to, maybe bring the film back. The idea of me narrating it. I mean, some of the narration is just verbatim taken from my book. So this kind of helped inspire their new concept for the movie. And for me, like, I know most people aren't really down with it, but I never had a problem with it. I mean, yes, they could have like made a more flattering movie where everybody looked great and da 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 da, but life's kind of messier than that.
So who wasn't down with it?
Well, it's famously not liked by Anton or Courtney or Zia or Eric or Matt or anybody,
Really?
anybody else in the movie. Yeah. But for me, it was always a cause of celebration because, the band had broken up and Anton was kind of getting it back together. And then the movie came out, and then all of a sudden it was like, what? And then I'm still out of the band. But then the DVD comes out, and now it's like this worldwide sensation. And then it's like, well, where's Joel? Where's that guy? Where's the band? Where, what? So Anton asked me back, and then now here we are now, 20 years later. But it's because of that movie, and some degree, just for political sake. But
I feel that
I always loved it. I always thought it was cool. I was always appreciative of it. So when they asked me to come back and be a part of it, I was like, well, this was a big event in my life, Of course I will help you celebrate that. So
I feel that was completely justified that you talk over that film. It was an incredible for people in the UK like my age when it came out. It was super inspiring. I mean, I always thought the Brian Jonestown come off the better band because there was so much more honesty with you guys. I mean, there's that famous part where you're like, you just fucking fakes, man. You're like trying to come around our house and make out. You're like, and it's just like, even when you're at the David LaChapelle video, it's like, fucking you and Jeff, like, fucking hell, what's going on here? It's like, well, you guys were like real. You guys were real. And I think that come off in the film. So it does surprise me that people like Matt or Anton wouldn't like the film. So I think you come across as you are yourselves and you're just doing you.
that's how I see it too. But people are weird. And thank God for it.
Well, I absolutely love the film. I mean, it's not over here in the UK yet, so I've not seen Dig 20. I'm looking forward to it. I think it comes over in March.
Yeah, it's doing a limited run.
So I've spoke to Andy and David about having a chat about that, about the film. But it's been an honor to speak to you today, Joel. Like, you're such a legend and such a hero of mine. I can't wait to meet you on the 19th in Brighton.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being one of the voices of the ceremony today.
Righteous, brother. It's been great talking to you. Thank you.
It's been incredible. And I'll post it up and I'll tag you and let's just see how the people take it because I think it's great. Thank you very much.
Cool.
And have a great gig tonight and the rest of your tour.
Thank you.
Cheers, Joel.
Cheers. Good talking to you.
You too, man. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, man.